On behalf of Sheriff Steve Freitas, welcome. He couldn't be here. I don't know where he is. It's not my day to watch him. So he's out of town, as is the undersheriff. My captain was in here earlier, and you want to say hello? And he said, not really. So left it all in my lap. My background is a little weird. I've been around here for almost 30 years. I've been a deputy sheriff for 28 years at the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department. I was a reserve deputy before that. I'm currently a detective sergeant in charge. My real job is in charge of the criminal intelligence unit, which is just me since the budget cuts. My detective got promoted, and then they never filled the spot. That was, what, 6 years ago. So 2 years ago, we reorganized the way our operation run, and we actually have 4 generations of Telecommunications Bureau's managers here. Press Thompson from 3 weeks ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Joe Perez took over from Press. Charlie Fleshman took over from Joe, and then I took over from Charlie. So there's a little bit of history here. That was a little picture. We probably never happen again. 2 years ago, we, probably back in the Press Thompson days, you were part of General Services. Yeah. Joe Perez days was Information Systems. Yep, which is IT, the IT Bureau, IT department of the county. Charlie was with the IT department of the county. 2 years ago, we picked that piece up out of IT, out of the other county department, and dropped it into the sheriff's department. We feel that, we put it the right way, so I don't get, emails and phone calls later. We feel that we see better efficiencies with the operation in the sheriff's office. We're the major user. The sheriff's office is the major user of land mobile radios in the county. Probably a little more than a third, followed by the fire system, the fire and EMS folks, and then everybody else kind of lumped together into almost that last third. Okay, never call me. That's my phone number. Never call me. Like I said, my real job is an intelligence officer, and I try to be the quintessential intelligence officer. Nobody knows where I am or what I'm doing or how to get a hold of me. So I try to keep that persona. The best way to get a hold of me, if you have to, send me an email. I check email Randy, what are you doing up? It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and his response is, well, what are you doing up? So that happens all the time. Johnny Garlics should be here. If anybody's familiar with Johnny Garlics, Guy Fieri owns Johnny Garlics. I'm not thinking he's going to be here, but his staff should be here in about half an hour. So you're going to have to listen to me run my mouth till the food shows up. As soon as the food shows up, man, I'm done no matter where we are in the presentation. Okay, so we're out of here. Sonoma County is the largest county in the Bay Area by far. 1,600 square miles. Of the 10 Bay Area counties, it's 20% of the area, of the 10 Bay Area counties. We have 65 miles of coastline, and the city of Santa Rosa that we're in here is the 5th largest city in the Bay Area. So Press and Joe and I were talking a few minutes ago. Joe remembers when the population of Sonoma County was 88,000? Of Santa Rosa. Yeah, it's doubled. People think Sonoma County, we think this, right? This is Sonoma County, right? Grapes, cows, lakes, recreation, hot air balloons, and 65 miles of coastline. That's what we are, right? But we're the largest Bay Area, the largest county in the Bay Area. We have 65 miles of coastline, and you counties that have coastline to deal with, half of our radio sites are on the coast, and that's still not enough. We have spots out there that our radios don't work, CHP's low-band radios don't work, CAL FIRE's conventional VHF stuff, nothing. I mean, it's just a black hole, milepost marker 42.
Remember when Press wanted to encourage oil derrick development in Sonoma County?
We still talk about that. In fact, we know where it needs to be. It's about 5 miles off of Jenner. Sonoma County, we've talked about the Sonoma County coast. Okay, this is what it looks like looking out, right? And that's Hawaii out there. That's our helicopter. And this picture actually has a caption. These people are 6 feet tall. That's 100 feet up to the helicopter. So these swells are about, and that's the Sacramento syndrome, as we like to call it. I think we've had, 8 this season so far? Drowning deaths, abalone hunting. We call it the Sacramento syndrome. People come here from Sacramento. I drove all the way here from Sacramento. I don't care what the conditions are, I'm going in the water. And if they're lucky, this happens. If they're unlucky, that happens. Okay. And that's a 42 off of Bodega Bay. Yes, yeah. We're also the home of the 100-year flood. We've had 15 of them in the last 73 years. We had 2 in 1985. And I know that the top step of the stairs at the river substation in Guerneville is 49.5 feet because I was there. And we had boats tied up to the rail up the 4 stairs to the back of the substation. You know, and it's not a bad thing sometimes. You know, it needs to get flushed out every now and then. We got close back in December. We do floods really well. Floods are easy for us, especially with the advent of GIS. We know where the water rises, and the water gets to here, we close these roads. The water gets to here, we call these people. The water gets to here, and it looks like it's going to keep raining. We know we do floods really well. Some of the things that we're developing now are because of the floods, and actually this picture here is in, when was it? 2005. Deputies are doing rescues on the river. Fire department's doing rescues on the river. State Parks is doing rescues on the river, and they can all see each other, right? But they can't talk to each other because we're UHF. The fire department's VHF, and State Parks is 800 megahertz, okay? That's kind of how I met Randy, and he kind of drugged me along with him to develop some of the systems that I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes. We also host some other crazy things. For 3 days a year, Sonoma Raceway now hosts NASCAR. It's an adventure, it really is. We basically stand up the police department for a city of 150,000 people for 3 days. And also we control or manage we call it the MAC, is the multi-agency command center. So it's the sheriff's office, fire and EMS, the FBI, National Guard, the track, the sanctioning body, whether it's NASCAR, NHRA, which we do a month later, and IndyCars, which we do a month after that, and now we have a World Touring Cup thing that they did the first time in the United States last year. Is getting a lot of traction. So these grandstands here seat 60,000 people in one spot. My intelligence background is we do the vulnerability assessments and deal with all that kind of stuff. We've done a bunch of things out there, and we continue to do things out there to improve our radio coverage in that area, which is about as far away from Santa Rosa as you can get. If you go 100 yards that way, you're in Marin County. You go 100 yards that way, you're in Solano County. Go another 100 yards, you're in Napa County. So it's an adventure. So we plan that year-round, even though for 3 whole days in the summertime. So we have kind of a mishmash of things going on here. We have low-band radios, not for just the highway patrol, because everybody's got low-band highway patrol, right? Which is an issue. We have a lot of our county services on low band still from the Press Thompson days. which isn't a bad thing. We have 20 radio sites. I can't cover the county with 20 radio sites on UHF. I can cover the county with 2 on low band. Okay. It's a whole different animal. Fire and EMS is our major VHF user, along with everybody around us, with the exception of Marin. They're not here, are they? No. With the exception of Marin, and everybody knows about Marin, so we don't worry about them. They actually have a VHF overlay that we can deal with Marin if we need to go there. Everybody north of us, all the way to the Oregon border, is VHF. And we know that when the mutual aid request happens, we get the calls from Oakland, thanks to Randy. We get the calls from Oakland to bring special resources there, but when the flag goes up, the Bay Area is going to take care of themselves, or we're going to go that way. They're going to need help north of here. We can deal with that. Charlie and I got a call. Anybody know who Aaron Bassler is? He was the guy that Sacramento SWAT team shot in Mendocino County a year and a half ago. He'd killed a couple people in Fort Bragg, was in the woods. Huge, big deal in Mendocino County. Mendocino County makes us look small. They're 5,000 square miles, and they have about 7 deputies. I don't know, not a big department, not a lot of money, not a lot of legitimate money. Did I say that out loud? Did you get that, Don? Okay. The sheriff of Mendocino County, Tom Allman, called Steve Freitas and said, hey, we're swamped, right? Our SWAT team's up there. Obviously, Sacramento SWAT team is there. They're swapping resources in and out. Tom Allman, I don't have a deputy to handle radio calls. Can you handle radio calls in southern Mendocino County? So, of course, the sheriff asked us, can we? Well, yeah, but we were headed out to Point Arena to look at another radio site. So we went out 128 from Cloverdale out to Point Arena and found out where our coverage ended, which was about the county line. And we can't handle calls in southern Mendocino County. We're going to need to put VHF radios in our cars and talk to their dispatch center in Mendocino County. We don't go that way very far. So we're actually doing that. All of our new patrol cars starting this year are going to have dual band radios in them. So we'll have UHF, VHF radios in all of our patrol cars with everything north of us in it, and interoperability stuff to go south, which is going to be a good thing for us. The selling point to the command staff is it's $500. And Fleet is already overcharging us for the radios that we have in the cars now. So we're actually saving $1,000. So we're going that way. Everybody else has, the CHP portable issue. They say that they're off 154,905, right? Almost. There you go. Yeah, we still hear them from time to time. Coast Guard is an interesting animal. We deal with 65 miles of the coast. There's a small boat station at Bodega Bay, the training center for the entire West Coast. Dustin was there. He was an electronics technician at Coast Guard before he came to work for us. And we work pretty close with those guys. We're probably going to build a radio site there, and we're going to work out a job sharing thing with not only the base ET staff at Two Rock, but with the ET school that's at Two Rock. It works out really well for us because those guys have all been backgrounded already through Homeland Security. Coast Guard's part of the Department of Homeland Security. So it's really easy to bring those guys up here and show them what the land mobile radio world looks like. And between Dave Mars and my guys, Dave Mars, the chief of the ET school down there, say, hey, RF is RF, right? And they can learn a lot from us that, how's all this stuff that we're learning in the Coast Guard apply to, well, the real world, us. 700 and 800 megahertz. Marin's starting to stand up some conventional 700 P25. I was in a meeting with Richard Chuck the other day, and He said, yeah, it's on the air, but we're the only ones using it. And I said, no, you're not, because we've chunked it a few times from our Unity portables from Santa Rosa. They have a site on Sonoma Mountain.
Is that a police term?
Huh? Kerchunk? Yeah, Kerchunk. That's one of your terms, right? Caltrans and state parks, conventional 800 megahertz. Then all of our stuff and all the city police departments in Sonoma County and the sheriff's department, with the exception of Roanoke Park, are UHF. So, you know, we kind of have that interoperability thing amongst everybody but Roanoke Park when it comes to the law enforcement side. But we also deal with a lot of outside agencies like DEA and the civil support team out of Hayward. When it comes to Infineon Raceway, and if anybody's get a chance to deal with the CST, it's an awesome group of guys. It's a team of 26, and they do everything. And they can bring, thank you, Randy, and they can bring to your show quite a bit of things. The chem bio, nuclear stuff, you name it, communications, they can, Alpine County, they'd have to come from Hayward, but they can stand up a Colt pretty much anywhere. They're putting together the 12-meter satellite antenna, but they can do a lot of things for you. That's about it. Oh, and Bohemian Grove, yeah. 2 weeks out of the year, Bohemian Grove gets a little weird with the captains of industry from all over the world, and then all of the people that think that there's nefarious things going on inside the confines of the Grove. There are, but most of it involves wine and singing. So, what can I say? So our telecommunications bureau is a manager, that's me. 2 senior comtechs, that's Terry and Charlie. Charlie's on the planning side, licensing, dealing with real estate and the architect's office on our construction projects, and trying to keep me from getting too crazy with future plans. Terry runs the 3 comtechs and is a working comtech, dealing with mostly the infrastructure. We also deal with about 3,000 subscriber units between the sheriff's department and the rest of the county agencies, plus a couple of contracts we have with a couple of local agencies. We have an analyst, she's not here, our bean counter, and our accounting clerk. That keeps me from overspending my budget, which I've yet to do this year, but it's going to happen. 1,600 square miles from San Pablo Bay to almost Gualala, which is just north of the county line up here in the northwest corner of that picture. We have one site now in Mendocino County that we're a tenant of a cable company at a Mendocino County site at Fish Rock. We're looking to put the fire and EMS system at another site, an AT&T site that Mendocino County is at Zettler Road in Point Arena. And the reason for that stretch up into Mendocino County is the Coast Life Support District is based, they're the EMS provider for about 100 miles of coastline. They're based in Gualala, just north of the county line. And we dispatch them out of Sonoma County, even though half of their district's in Mendocino County. So we need that little bit of reach up into Mendocino County. We're planning a new site at Burdell. KTLN has a facility there at Burdell, just north of Novato, that's going to cover down into this area really well. There's a little ridge line that runs through here, which gives us a little bit of grief into this area, this Lakeville area. Mark and Mike, was it? This is that site we're looking at for that command post link. This one, that one, and that one. I'll talk about that here in a couple of minutes. So we have 15 existing sites. We have 4 planned. We're building or rebuilding towers at Mount Jackson, Siri Road. We'll probably end up building a new tower there. New tower at Rockpile Road. What else? A new tower at Barham. that actually AT&T is building for us. What else? What else? New tower at Infineon. Seaview, new tower at Seaview, that's right. We're moving across the street half a mile from a leased facility to a county-owned facility, but we got to build it. And 250 miles of digital microwave. That includes the couple of new sites that we're putting in, Trayson and Burdell and Moonraker out in the Sea Ranch. 3DS3 loop protection around most of it, and with the exception of Zettler Road, every site is just one hop off of the loop. Thank you. Our main systems, the sheriff's radio system is 6 countywide channels, voted and simulcast. We use Harris Master 3s exclusively for all of our mountaintop stuff. JPS voters and Tate Quasi-Sync 2 simulcast on our DS3 microwave, 3DS3 microwave. We have additional local UHF repeaters in the courts and the jail, the 2 jails, well 3 jails if you want to count the juvenile hall out towards Sonoma. And we have, since narrowbanding, we've had a bunch of frequencies become available. We've licensed a lot of those for tactical, portable, airborne, temporary, a lot of stuff. We just, in fact, we installed it yesterday morning when we got to Sacramento for the command show. Frequency agile repeater 135? 135 channels in the command post, right. But we put in a frequency agile UHF repeater in the command post, which gave us
60.
Yeah, but it gave us coverage 250 feet into the building,
Absolutely.
right? So we can stand up coverage where we need to. Randy, thank you. This is the truck that Randy was talking about. This is actually our 2nd generation vehicle. The first one was a proof of concept that was built in this old crappy CSI, leftover CSI van. When we had this built, it's a Ford F450 crew cab, 4-wheel drive, dually diesel with this custom box on the back that'll actually fit in a C-130. We have to unscrew all the antennas, but it'll back up into a C-130. That's the explanation on the cutoff corners. We actually went over and talked to the guys at Travis and said, hey, we're building this new truck. We want to make it air mobile, but would you guys actually take us anywhere? And he said, yeah, we take you anywhere the governor tells us to take you. So, okay, so what do we need to do? So, well, we like to back them into the airplane, so when we get there, you just drive them out, right? So, first thing that happens is you back up, the rear bumper hits the ramp. We don't like that. So we cut the rear bumper. We had the box custom built, so we had the rear bumper cut off. So actually the tires hit the ramp before the bumper does. The next thing that happens is this top corner hits the inside of the airplane, and they really don't like that. So we had that corner cut off. So it'll actually level out, and it'll clear by a couple of inches as you're backing into the airplane. Then the next thing that happens is it high centers on the hinge, the ramp hinge. So they needed 12 inches of clearance there. We got about 14. Then they said, well, we want to have 8 10,000-pound tie downs on the frame. So the truck was in design at the time. I had the frame drawings from Ford. And so, okay, well, where do you want us to put them? He said, I don't care. So and when we got it back from the upfitter, they said, hey, well, we looked at these hooks on the side. And I said, those look like more than 10,000. He says, yeah, those are 20,000s. They were $5 more. We figured you'd pay the $5. So they went ahead and put 20,000-pound tie downs on the truck. So it's got 8 20,000-pound tie downs on the frame, 1 on each frame rail, on each side of each axle to tie it into the airplane. And then the Air Force said, hey, if you're building a truck anyway, put some hooks on the side so we can keep it from rocking around in there. So that's what these guys are. These are not for picking up the truck, even though we probably could. We don't want to try to do that. Where's I going with this? We have that capability. That's in a C-130. We could put 2 of these in here sideways, one on top of the other in a C5, so that makes it really easy. In this truck is completely self-contained, has its own generator, about 40 gallons of diesel fuel, satellite internet connection, whole bunches of radios. The ones that we use the most, VHF and UHF, but we also have federal UHF, the 400 to 430 stuff, which actually we squeak down into the inter-squad radio stuff. We have 900 megahertz, we have aircraft, we have low band, we have a MyCom 3F HF radio now, and we have an MSAT satellite-based Nextel is basically the best explanation of it. That we also have, thanks to Vince, in our dispatch center now connected to our console system. So we can go pretty much anywhere in North America and we're pushed to talk back to our own dispatch center. We can do a patch from any radio in the truck to the MSAT, back to our dispatch center. They can do a console patch to any other channel that we have available in our, well, we could get pretty crazy if we want, and we do. We do get pretty carried away sometimes. We swapped out the Raytheon ACU 1000 for a Sitech Rios that's got 32 ports in it, and we almost have that filled up. We got, I think, 6 extra ports on the Sitech right now to come up with some more stuff.
And I should probably add, we had 5 of our, we call them TICs, so gateways, in Oakland deployed for Oakland. Dennis was deploying his rig here and himself at the old Army Air Base in Oakland at the staging area with about 300 cops down there.
Yeah, I think I have some pictures coming up here. We also do a couple other crazy things. With that truck, we carry 4 IP video cameras that are on a 4.9 FireTide mesh radio system that we can forwardly deploy those cameras, and it's not a hub and spoke, it's true mesh, so we can hop out a ways if we need to. So we got called to support the World Series in San Francisco. This was the view from my office, which was right there. And the FBI's airplane is what this was, and that one in the top left. And that's my crew hanging the cameras. Dave Sullivan from the NICRIC, hey, can you see me? Can you read what it's saying? And this is from about half a mile away with one of those cameras. And we had a live feed. The FBI in their command post was watching the satellite TV feed, which had about an 8-second delay in it. And John Molinari, my partner there, was in their command post with one of our laptops watching our video feed, kind of turned so they couldn't see it. And he was calling the pitches 8 seconds ahead of the... Oh, he's going to foul this one too. And the FBI guys, you know, 3 or 4 of these, John, you should have put some money on that. You know, it's... He said, I didn't want to get indicted. It's got to be a law against it. Oh, and these pictures are from Oakland. So, yeah, this is from, what we did is we put one of those cameras on, we just put the tripod up on the roof of the truck and took a bunch of pictures. Rick was there, Maudlin, where'd Rick? There you are. He was there. You got better pictures because you went for the walk. But we did, we actually took Alameda County XTS and Oakland 70, Harris 7100, 7200, whatever. And clipped the mics off the shoulder mics and built cables into our Sitech Rios, and we were the command patch between Oakland's Harris and Alameda's Motorola. In fact, I think I still have those radios. This is our command post. If any of you were in Sacramento yesterday, this is the truck that we had there. We do things a little differently. We see, since we're physically so big, you know, 1,600 square miles, we have cellular coverage in maybe half of that. So we try to stay self-contained. We do have satellite, we do have cellular data, we have a lot of ways that we can get out of the command post situation here. but we don't need to. We try to get away from client-server applications, especially if the server is cloud-based, because we may not have connection to the cloud. So we run everything internally. We have all of our own orthophotography we carry with us on a server, pictometry, orthophotography that we can pull up in the command post, whether we have a connection to the outside world or not. Our computer-aided dispatch that we run in the command post is all peer-to-peer, so it runs locally. If we have a connection to the outside world, it'll connect to the outside world and other people can see us. If not, oh well, we don't care. The next thing that we're working on, and this was Terry's idea, Terry and Jim's idea, and we're waiting, hopefully, we need one more license. And we're waiting for hopefully a letter of concurrence from the state and one from, we found a channel that we think will work, except the state's adjacent and Santa Clara's adjacent. So we have this voted simulcast sheriff's environment, right? Ultimately, we'll have probably close to 20 mountaintops in that system. The plan is to put one channel, which is our channel 6, which was our ComDiv channel, our TCOM channel. We use now still for my crew to talk to each other, but we also use it for special events because it's got really awesome penetration countywide. But what we want to do is basically build a mobile simulcast cell. So we'll have a UHF repeater on the truck, right, that's backed up to a VHF uplink and downlink. So we'll go out, set the truck up, connect to one of 3 mountaintops, either Sleepy Mountain in the South County, Mount Jackson in Guerneville, or Oak Ridge out in the hinterlands, and be able to take the inbound traffic. We'll receive it at the command post on SO6, on the input, send it to one of those 3 mountaintops, it'll jump on the microwave and come back to the voters at SOB, into the dispatch center, and then back out to all the mountaintops, back down the VHF RF link to the command post and simulcast from the truck, right? So we'll be able to improve coverage locally. Plus, we'll still have the wide area coverage for inbound units for the command and control and all that happy stuff. We think we can do it. We're pretty sure. We have the uplink channel. We're already licensed on the uplink channel. We've identified a downlink channel. We just need to deal with, hopefully, now that I've thrown you under the bus, you're all set, right? Next. Fire and EMS radio system is 3 countywide repeated channels on VHF. It was 1 repeated with 2 simplex channels. Is the eagle landed there? Ah, yes. Hey, I'm done. See you later.
I'll let CIB know so they don't have to.
Okay. We've recently, like just before Christmas, repeaterized. We identified 2 new uplink channels and repeaterized those command channels countywide. So Control 2, Control 4, Joe, from the olden days is now repeated. So we have portable-to-portable coverage from Wingo to Gualala. It's working great. And then there's a central single site that's essentially the city of Santa Rosa that's on R5 up here above the building. Plus they have about 15 tactical channels and a bunch of other crazy stuff. UHF meds on most of the mountaintops, and we have the old VHF faster for EMS. We get portable coverage about 85% of the county, and mobile coverage is about 98% of the county. We know milepost marker 42 on Highway 1 is the black hole. That's where the Ferrari flipped over and caught fire a couple of weeks ago. Nothing. CHP didn't work, we didn't work, CAL FIRE didn't work, nothing. What they ended up doing is talking from the ground to the helicopter and helicopter back to the comm center. We also, we have a bunch of low band stuff still. We love low band. We just licensed a bunch of more low band. The old inner city, Joe and Press, the old inner city channel 45.6 is still there. We're actually expanding and replacing the subscriber units out on all those FX1s, out in all the EOCs, DOCs, ICPs, all those things. And we're putting a low-band repeater at Mount Jackson as soon as the new tower gets built, which we think, in the modeling, it looks like that may reach all the way to the Weather Service in Monterey. So we could talk directly to the Weather Service on our intercity EOC, ICP channel. Department of Health Services, we've recently installed a repeater at Old Mount Jackson that'll go onto the new tower for their department operations center to talk to all the primary and secondary care facilities in the county. And I think there's, Jim, 40 or 50 of those. It's a passel of them. Yeah. The idea is, we know that Sonoma County probably isn't going to be the target of a terrorist act. Just probably not. Maybe Infineon, one day a year on NASCAR Sunday. And we do ramp up for that. But we know that San Francisco is a high target, a high value target to the terrorists. And if something happens there, where are all those people going to go? Everywhere but there, right? They're going to come here. And that's what the Department of Health Services is ramping up for. So they were heavily invested into amateur radio to deal with their communications. We suggested that we may be able to do that better with a public safety grade radio system, and they bought it. So we're in the process of installing that system now. We're expanding the old water agency system. We're putting a second repeater at Oak Ridge. We're still dealing with Crown Castle there that didn't know who we are, even though we've been there since the day they built the tower. And we tore down the old tower when you were still here, press. They didn't know who we were because we were under the state's umbrella. So it took us a while to figure that out. Nobody knew what was there. Still, the Crown Castle documents don't show what's there. We went out and looked, and there was actually one antenna that we didn't know was there that was ours. So we're trying to get that all straightened out. I think we're that close. We're very close with DGS, Crown Castle, and the county. The water agency historically has had just a single low-band repeater on Sonoma Mountain. We want to put a second repeater for them out at Oak Ridge that'll cover kind of that northwest and the north corner of the county. Plus, the water agency is our single most vulnerable asset day to day. It serves about 650,000 people in 3 counties, and starts actually in Glenn County. Lake Pillsbury is the head end of the water system. So they actually have some control in the release from Scott Dam, I think it is, that holds back Lake Pillsbury, 100 miles that way. They've voiced some interest in being able to talk all the way up to there. And if we can get, and we need to talk to Mendocino when the water agency is ready to move forward with this, but our coverage, our propagation studies looks like if we can put a low-band repeater on Mount Sanhedrin, we can give them mobile coverage, the CDF model, tone select repeaters, well, from that end to that end, covering about 300 miles of the Russian River. That, and we're putting in local UHF repeaters at their key facilities. So at their admin campus up near the airport, and then at their treatment facilities out in the Russian River and out in the Sonoma Valley. County Transit, 5 sites voter steered, right? Voter steered. There are our test case for 700 P25. So they're on a UHF channel really close into our sheriff's channels. That would be awesome for a sheriff's resource everywhere. We'd like to get our feet wet with 700 P25 there because we don't need the countywide coverage. We could probably do enough coverage for the buses with maybe 3 or 4 sites because we're only talking to the buses. We're only talking to mobiles, and we're not going out into the hinterlands. We're covering essentially the core. What else? Animal control, county parks, essentially mirrors of each other. We're repeating those systems and adding a second site at Oak Ridge. They use UHF portables to talk to VXR 1000 repeaters in their vehicles and then jump back onto the low band. That's how we're able to cover the county with low band with 2 sites and still give them portable coverage, but they can't get too far from the car. And then on the last slide, it said facility operations down at the bottom. They actually are the sole user of the old general services channel, which was the architect's office and fleet, and who else was on that? FAC Ops, and it's just FAC Ops anymore. They don't need a county-wide channel. They need a channel here for the county campus. They need a channel out at the airport for the jail, and out at Los Guillicos for the juvenile hall. So what we're going to do is we're going to give them low-level systems at those 3 sites linked together across our IP network, so it's pretty much transparent to them. And then we're going to take away their county-wide channel. Hopefully we have funding request in for this upcoming fiscal year and simulcast and vote that like a sheriff's channel and give it to all these guys that have the UHF portables on a shared basis. So if they have a situation that they need to talk from Wingo to Gualala on their UHF portable, they have what we call countywide 2 that they can do that on. Or talk to a deputy sheriff.
On a single channel?
1 channel, yeah. So we talked about all that stuff. Then our interoperability front. So the flood slide that we talked about, from Daniels, we have 4 of these now. Oak Ridge and Seaview are on the air. Sonoma Mountain's about that close. And Jackson, we're building a new tower. The cement's drying as we speak for the next 3 weeks. And then I have a question for all of you on that front. This is analog. What's required to be narrowband is the UHF and VHF component. There's a low band and an 800 meg component. They are generally on VTAC, UTAC, LTAC, 8TAC channels, and can be activated as needed. So assets coming from any place else, if you hopefully, and it's probably criminal if you don't have those tactical channels already programmed in your radios, coming into Sonoma County to help us, all we got to do is turn it on. There's a low band, high band, UHF 800 input, all bridged together to come back out on all 4. So go in on any one, come out on all 4. They geographically cover pretty much every piece of the county. The idea was, if you can back up 1 slide. These guys are working together every day and need to be able to talk to each other, and typically we can't. So, okay, now go forward 1 slide. With these strategically placed crossband repeaters, 1 call to the dispatch center, can you light up, and we call it common east, common west, common coast, and common north. Can you light up common east for a pursuit that's got the highway patrol on low band, the city of Roanoke Park on high band, us on UHF, and maybe, I don't know, park ranger is involved in it on 800, right? Or going into a Caltrans construction area that's on 800. How about that? We can all talk to each other with the phone call. Hey, light up comm east. We call it common east in every radio, whether it's a low band radio, high band, UHF 800. So we don't run into that problem when we're doing marijuana cases in what we call Mendonoma, which is kind of that area up there. Hey, we have claymars, and you have claymars. How come we can't talk to you? Well, because you're VHF claymars, and we're UHF claymars, and it's not deputy proof. We have this concept of deputy proof. I'm talking to Budge Courier. You guys probably know Budge Courier. He's now working for the state, I understand. When he was at CTA, they did a study for Charlie's group at ISD, And we were talking about how we wanted our systems to be deputy-proof. And he said, and his partner, I don't remember his partner's name, but Budge was in the Marines, and his partner was in the Navy, right? The guy from the Navy said, yeah, we had the same thing when I was in the, or no, Budge said, when I was in the Marines, we had the same thing in the Marines. We called it marine-proof. And his buddy from the Navy says, hey, we had the same thing when I was in the Navy. We called it marine-proof. Okay? That's the same thing that we're looking at. We still get, hey, I can't find Santa Rosa PD in my radio. Okay, see the little switch that says A, B, C? Go to B and turn the knob until it says SRPD1. Oh, yeah, there it is. How'd that get there? Yeah, magic, right? It's FM. So, next slide. We talked a little bit about the MSAT G2s. MTC, the Municipal Transportation Commission, funded these for a lot of people, for all the EOCs in the county. The state, SkyMars, and there's a bunch of, they call them smart talk groups. Think of it as a satellite-based Nextel. It's push-to-talk, and for your $69 a month, it's all the push-to-talk you can eat. You can also make outbound telephone calls through it at $3 a minute, or take inbound phone calls on it if you're so inclined. But the push-to-talk, the part that we're interested in, is $70 a month, all you can eat. They're in all of the EOCs in the county. We have one in the truck. We have two in the comm center that are hooked up to our dispatch system is Modicom. So it's just a channel in the Modicom as far as the dispatcher is concerned. It's dispatcher proof. It has got a few, it's exactly like Nextel. You can't just push and talk. You push and wait, and it beeps at you. Okay, now I can talk. So it's a little learning curve, and Vince just got them turned on last week. So we were setting levels yesterday from Sacramento. Pretty cool. And we just licensed 3201 kilohertz as a PW channel on HF. We're in the process of building the interface from the HF radio in our shop to Modicom. We have an HF radio in the truck, so that's one more thing. Alpine County, NVIS, maybe.
But it's not deputy proof.
What's that?
It's not deputy proof.
It could be, though. You don't let them change channels. That's it. Food's here. Questions? Oh, the one question I had of you guys. So we're building 6 towers in the next 2 years. We have the cement in the ground at Mount Jackson. We went out to bid for the tower and the vault. The tower bid came in just about what we expected. The vault bid came in way over what we expected, and we only had one bidder. That's after we went out twice, and somebody asked, hey, can you open the bid again? So we did, because we only had one bidder. Do you guys all have a list of site contractors or some site contractors you can write down for me that we'll make sure that next time we go to bid, which will be anytime soon, we'll let them know, and hopefully we'll get some competitiveness in our bids? That's all I ask. Just write it down and give it to me or give it to one of my guys. Again, never call me. Always send me an email. Any questions, answers? Jerry.
Yeah, I saw that Davey had 2 slides on there that Santa Rosa didn't show up on. I was just curious.
Yeah, it's because we don't know you exist.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked about Santa Rosa. Yeah.
Do they have a police department? That's really what I'm trying to say.
I've heard they do. Well, kinda. Yeah. Any questions? Joe?
Tribute where tribute is due. Press put the first E911 system in the entire state of California. Correct me if I'm wrong, Press. Here in little old Sonoma County, it was 1982, 3, somewhere around there. And I remember us doing promotional announcements on our local television station. That's how I met Press way back then.
One thing about Sonoma County, and I think part of the reasons we do things the way we do, is we're kind of a big agency. We're considered part of the UASI, but they really ignore us because yeah, they do. We know it. So we're fairly removed from the Bay Area. We've been trading emails for the last couple of days on how much food to bring. And Randy, we initially started at 60, food for 60, and we joked 60 people aren't going to drive to Santa Rosa for a 9 o'clock meeting. And then the next thing I get from is, okay, we got 65 confirmed, why don't we get 70? People, it's hard to get here. You don't come here going someplace else, because if you're going to go to, you don't. This is the end of the line on 101. Because if you're going to go to Eureka, or you're going to go up I-5 and over 299. This is kind of the end of the line for 101. But we're far enough removed from the Bay Area, but we're big enough and have enough money and enough brain power to do it ourselves. And we like to do it ourselves because we know nobody's coming at 3 o'clock in the morning in the horizontal rain to fix it. So if we built it from the ground up, we can fix it, or at least we can work around it. It's been an advantage to us. Same thing with working with the feds, is they have a very small footprint here. The San Franciscos, the Oaklands, the San Jose's, where the feds are in your business all the time, we don't see that because they're not up here. Yeah, okay, it's an act of terrorism. They have jurisdiction by law. We'll be here tomorrow. Can you hold down the fort? Yeah, okay, we'll figure it out. And we're getting pretty good at figuring stuff out. That's it for me. Food's getting cold.